EXTINCTION.
Follow the light. The light is your guide.
King Ghidorah, take me to your leader. Put the king that he not no snake like me neither.
Good lord, this is a beautiful gold-plated three-headed dragon with very mean eyes. Alright, let's start at the heads. King Ghidorah's heads are detailed and painted up like absolute dreams. The eyes are going to be especially vibrant, and I do believe they are mostly going to be looking straight forward. Oh yeah, oh yeah. When it comes to taking a look at King Ghidorah's heads in 4D, HD, 3D to the max over here, wow, they are just brimming with details. And there's so much of it I really can't deduce if there are any major differences happening within them. I mean, there is some differentiation between detail over here, and over here across the majority of them. That could just be the presence or they're not of paint, but I really can't say definitively. All I can say is they look absolutely beautiful. And the horns as well will be looking rather nice, be looking like them ice cream cones with the chocolate baked between the ridges, very nice. It's the front on to profile shots where I really just gotta give Hiya the roses. Not only is it just spot friggin' on, but the painting, the detailing, all of it together, it's just a cornucopia of damn, this Ghidorah looks great. The eyes, the teeth, the innards of the mouth, my word. I mean, look at that. And I think... Okay, those eyes were done with what I believe is called a dot matrix. Yeah, those aren't going to be decals. They will be printed on, and I think they look pretty good for what they are. I can say the exact same for the teeth and his little toothy beard goatee going on over here. And the same can mostly be said for the opposing side. And, dude, look at the inside of this mouth. Fleshy, glossy, detailed, fleshy, glossy, very detailed. I mean, damn. And just look at that tongue, both on the top and the bottom as well. That is simply beautiful. All right, King Ghidorah, give him that choir trio. The voice of an angel, maybe even a bell. Yeah, I just wanted to get that done and out of the way first because there's a lot to cover and a lot of it is a bit of the same over and over again, but still, yes, the painting, the detailing, the dot matrixing on all sides of each of King Ghidorah's heads, all of it is going to be lovely, all of it is going to be sane. Oh. Now, as far as paint and detailing goes on the underside of King Ghidorah's heads and necks and throats and jaws and everything, you've pretty much guessed what it would look like. Really not too much going on here. The detail is sublime, but I really have nothing else to comment on. It's all very nice. And the same could really be said for the opposing side of King Ghidorah's heads and necks and all that fun stuff. They're feathery looking and they are spiky. Pretty on par for that of King Ghidorah. Moving from the heads and necks to King Ghidorah's wings over here, I really like how Hiya handled the overall look and feel of these here wings. Now you've got this plethora of scales that then reach out into a blank nothingness, and then you get the wings, which actually look like the material used in the movie. And, you know, I guess it helps that the material used for King Ghidorah's wings overall are very rubbery, so it does help those fabric-looking details very much stand out and shine. We're gonna get the hooked tips at the end of King Ghidorah's Chicken Finger Deluxes, and seriously, the material detailing for King Ghidorah's membranes over here, bro. That is just top notch, and the way that they shine and glisten in the light, revealing more, this is a premium friggin' detail. It's honestly exceptionally impressive, and it'll be like that on both sides. The only downside though, these aren't my fingerprints. Hopefully this shows up, but my fingerprints don't show up, so I guess the wings were touched at some point during packaging where they kind of left forever marks. And that's a bit of a bummer, but I really don't go about paying much attention to them because, well, this is mostly on the backside of the wing. Wings, I should say. Although now that I take a closer look at it, there are some on the other side as well. But, I'm not gonna say I don't care this time, I'm just gonna say I'm unbothered by it because look at these things. Last place I'm looking is going to be at the wings. Moving around to the back of the figure over here, we are going to see these very friggin' long tails. Thank God they're friggin' articulated because Christ, what the real estate. And much like the majority of King Ghidorah's body, they are going to be textured in these very pointy, dragonic looking scales. And when it comes to the spiked and or clubbed tail ends of these things, they look incredibly sharp. They're not. And they look pretty damn on point. They are a bit of a softer rubber, so I can't foresee these things breaking unless you bend them over to the other side. None of this, oh, I just touched it and it broke. It's not gonna happen, stop it. Beautiful, beautiful looking details going on back here. And as much as I would really love to cut Paint and Detail short because this is how King Ghidorah looks for the majority of his body, I can't because it does change somewhat. But hey, yo, I think we're making good enough time. Holy God, this looks awesome. Absolutely details you can feel. I mean, King Ghidorah in comparison to Godzilla 1991 is definitely the harder of the two. I mean, the way that these scales just lift off of King Ghidorah's body, even as they're sculpted closer to his skin, honestly, vastly fucking impressive. And it only becomes all the more impressive once you come on over to King Ghidorah's legs and feet. I mean, that is just crazily friggin' impressive. And really, the only areas that the scales are gonna get smoothened out are gonna be at the pieces that need to fit within other pieces. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? And even then, like, it's still detail you can feel. King Ghidorah is going to be sporting some massive fuck-off feet, and I especially like the details on these. Because you have that golden slow-to-a-crawl scale detail until you get to his toes, which are completely smoothened out and topped off with a bone color for the nails. And the way some of these scales rest on top of King Ghidorah's toes, I mean, that's such a minute little detail that I imagine isn't going to mean much to many, but it means something to me because damn. Again, just impressive. And now moving up into the legs into Jesus fucking Christ, man! Look at the size of those King Ghidorah titties! Holy turmeric paste, Batman! Them things is just fucking sizable. Good lord, the viscosity of the breasts. God damn. Hiya, I swear to God, do not make these things smaller. Either keep them like this or make them bigger. Imagine all the ball joints you can fit into those things. Anyway, to get completely serious and not cringeworthy though, the way that the scales lift off and then droop in between the cleavage of King Ghidorah. Just the curvature around here and how they distribute all along this whole piece is so fucking nice looking. Yeah, sure, King Ghidorah looks like he's quadruple cheeked up with the front butt on a Saturday night, but damn, that is seriously just impressive work. And even as you move up through the cleavage and move towards the necks over here, the way that they just kind of tighten up and then just spiral up towards their particular head, it's knocking my grammaticals out of my head. I can't properly construct a sentence right now, but it's just genuinely beautiful work. Listen, man, I'm not glazing because I got this for free. I'm glazing because I see these titties. Bro be getting the Bahama Mamas and the Tum Tilly Tums. Good sirs, you should be proud. Rock these curves like many are afraid to. Hell yeah, we love that sort of confidence. And I'm gonna be honest, that's about it for Paint and Detail. There's not much else I can say. King Ghidorah's all gold. The detail pretty much follows throughout the entirety of his body except into his mouth and into his wings where things change. Everything else is just good. I could spend more time on this if I really wanted to, but I'm not going to, so let's... King Global Tetra Ghidorah is going to be standing at over 10 inches tall at a neutral pose. The wings just far eclipse that, as you can see. But if you hyperextend his necks, he'll be standing at over 11 inches tall when it comes to the heads. And I mean, either way, this thing's gonna be huge. Shokugan, Godzilla Island Monster Series, OG movie, modern color renewal movie. Modern movie, limited modern movie, Godzilla collection. HG, Bandai Minis, Giant Ultra Fuck Off Godzilla collection, Godzilla 1991, Diamond Select, Hiya 1, Hiya 2, Hiya, how you doing? Alright, you saw the card thingy. It's time to move. Okay, let's start off with King Ghidorah's heads. So, every ball joint, as we all know, whether we choose to or not, can be a swivel. So all of these pieces can swivel in any which way you prefer. But unlike other Hiya Ghidorahs before him, right out the gate, Heisei King Ghidorah can look directly into his tits. And it's not just him. He can do it too. And good lord, this guy can do it thrice. Look at that. I can't wait for stop motion artists to do the ultimate King Ghidorah, spread my wings and lift my heads up reveal type thing. It's gonna be great. It's fantastic. And the only thing that makes these articulated onion ring dragon heads even better is just the fact that as far forward they can go, they can equally go as far back as well. So you can really have him reeling like a friggin' seagull meme. You know, that one that reels its head back and goes, "Ah!" Yeah, just like that. Now, as I already showed off earlier, the tongues can move up and down. I would recommend directly out of the box heat treating these because they do, like, mine came stuck to the roof of his mouth. And even now, these tongues are rather tight to articulate. But I would say 2 seconds under the hair dryer at your highest setting. That's all you're gonna need. Because the way that they're situated and such, the tongues aren't in the center of the joint, they're on top of it. So when you pull it down, you kind of have to put pressure on the top and like roll it down. And then do that a couple more times so they don't stick in place. And even after all that heat treaty, there is still going to be times where you have to get a fingernail in there and, you know, not scrape something off, but scrape the tongues off the roof of the mouth, just like that. So, that's my advice when it comes to King Ghidorah's tongues. Didn't really have an issue moving the jaws right out of the box. They're all pretty responsive, and they all work as intended. And yeah, for the sake of sakes, look at that. Full swivel, full fluid movements. You can get this guy curved down. You can get that guy curved down. You can get this guy curved down looking up, and it looks like he's marching towards you with his arms all stocked out like this. It's nice. It's good. It's great. Now, when it comes to King Ghidorah's tit cradle and his torso over here, you will get some movement from side to side. You will get a little bit of movement up and down. Really? Not too much, and I do think that is a bit of a precaution because of these wings, because even though they are a lighter material as compared to that of KOTM King Ghidorah, they are also quite heavy. I think they make up a majority of the figure's heft, save for these massive fuck-off tits. So it's one of those instances where I don't know if I'm exactly upset about it or not, because if this was loose, this thing would have more of a hunch in his back than Mechagodzilla GMK. Nobody wants a repeat of that. Although, I will say, King Ghidorah's legs over here, they can move out really far, they can kick forward, they can kick back. They've actually got quite a great range of movement, and the bend and all of that is actually quite nice. Dear God, King Ghidorah with a pivot. And since the legs can spread out that far, that pivot is actually usable. My word. Now, when it comes to King Ghidorah's tails, I really do wish these things were like the 1991 Godzilla tail, because as long and awesome as they are, holding the weight isn't exactly their strong suit. This is like one of the major areas I hope Hiya can improve on with future releases, because when it comes to a curve forward, most of the time they hold their pose, but if you try to do anything else with them, it's not exactly all that fruitful. I mean, let's try a side. Yeah, they just kind of droop. But then again, I don't know how much better they would be if they suddenly got the tooling of 91 Goji. Who knows? I mean, maybe something can be done. They really do like to droop when you try and do anything with them that isn't curving up. But there is a method that has worked for me sometimes. You know, sometimes I like to pose these things up, and in order to capture that, sometimes I pose and twist. Since they're ball joints, if you twist them, they will eventually hold a pose. So let's see if I can do that again. I brought this up, I twisted, I twist it again, and I kind of just kept twisting until they stay up. Let's see if I can pull that off with this side over here. Just, maybe if I twist this one and get that up in there and then do a little bit of this. And results may vary. It's a very simplistic like fix. It's not the fixiest fix, but it's a fix that might fix your issue. Okay, moving on from King Ghidorah's grand cleavage, let's take a look at the wings. Alright, Rob of the Future here. I forgot to talk about this, and that's not good because I actually do have a complaint going on here. King Ghidorah's tails. They're attached to this double-sided rigatoni noodle going on over here. Now, there is a ball joint, and much like the torso, there is movement, but there is nothing that's really substantial. And since there isn't anything substantial, and since this thing can't move up and stay there, I think you can already see what I'm getting at here. The figure is always going to be slouching forward. So he's always going to have this almost half horizontal like body stance going on. And really, aside from the tails not being able to hold much of a pose or anything, that's my one complaint with this. I just wish there was a bit more room for this to move so I can get King Ghidorah up just a bit straighter. That's it. Back to the wings. Oh yeah, before anybody asks, can the KOTM gravity beams fit in this guy's mouth? Well, they don't fit on his tongues, but they can somewhat stay on in there. It's nothing that I would call permanent or really like meant for it. If you're gonna get this to work, I think you're gonna need a stand, because once they're on his tongues, they're gonna droop. And even though this is working better for me than it did during the recording process, well, I mean, I think that's the most you'll be able to get out of them. And yeah, that happens. That thing's just hanging by a moment here with you. I remember quite a many voices screaming out all at once when we saw that there would be hinges at King Ghidorah's wings. Longevity of being able to hold the wings up was definitely brought into question, and for the most part, I haven't had much of an issue with them. They do operate on a bit of like a soft ratchet, I guess, and they can go forward and rather far back. Now, there have been reports of King Ghidorah's wings drooping right outside the box, and I don't think my copy suffers from that. I mean, look at that. You know what? Maybe my copy does have a bit of droopage, but the fact that he's still standing with the wings like this is actually kind of nuts. And on top of that movement, we're also going to get bendy wire at the wings over here. And you can actually get them pretty close to King Ghidorah, but I know a lot of people are definitely a little put off by the fact that these have bendy wires in them. Me personally, I think I would prefer bendy wires over like gigantic solid pieces that just make me nervous. I mean, these don't not make me nervous, but I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. If you're throwing a titty fit over these having bendy wires in them, just don't buy it then. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. I'm just a simple figure reviewer. My main worries when it comes to bendy wires is simply that I'm never going to get the wings as straight as they once were. But surprisingly, since these bendy wires aren't exactly what I would call, actually I don't have a word for that, but they're not exactly the hardest things to get back into shape, although I am seeing a bit more droopage on this wing than, okay, maybe I'm just not clicking it all the way in. I'm trying to be very delicate with these wings because I don't want nothing snapping, but for the most part, I think these wings are just fine. I think they look great, and I like that you can kind of really friggin' mess with them, even when they're all the way back to the most of their ability, to really kind of get a custom aura farming type pose out of King Ghidorah, whether he's on your shelf, on your desk, or whatever. Now, you can tell which part of King Ghidorah's wings are actually going to have bendy wires in them by looking for those holes, the ones that look like they were plugged up by another piece of material. This one doesn't have it, but I think it does have bendy wire in there. Same thing for this one over here. You'll get more holes over here, and I'm pretty sure you'll get some tinier holes at the base of them. At least one of them has them. Might be on the other side. But I believe these three down here won't have bendy wires, while everything above it kind of does. And that, for the most part, does check out because this is a bit more flimsy. As you move up, you can actually feel the wire in there. And, you know, once you bend it, you can kind of just tell, yeah, that's a bendy wire. Now, again, I can understand if bendy wire is not your thing, and it just makes you all the more nervous about this release. But I've had this thing for a couple of days. I've had their KOTM Rodan for well over a year, 2 years at this point. I haven't run into any bendy wire issue with Rodan. I understand that's just me. That's the only experience I can really speak from. I'm more so nervous about the hinges and how the wings are attached to the back than I am the bendy wire. And I guess it's really not so much the hinges I'm worried about, it's the fact that the wings are two separate pieces over here, and you can see that there is some movement at the rubbery piece of the wing. So I would recommend posing the wings from the hinge joint over here, not from over here, because the more you knock this about, I mean, I don't know what would happen. Maybe you could glue it right back on, maybe you can't. Beyond all that, though, I actually really enjoy this figure, and as most of you know by now, this isn't my favorite King Ghidorah design, but when I look at this, I don't see my least favorite King Ghidorah design. I see a damn fucking fine figure that I really do enjoy, and might just end up being my figure of the year. Anyway, poses. This version of King Ghidorah, I think, is very much comparable to that of a boulder with linguine noodles attached to every end inside of it. And as far as Hiya Toys' own iteration of the character goes, I think they did a pretty damn good job capturing that. The amount of personality that you can get out of the necks and heads alone is awesome. The addition of bendy wire and King Ghidorah's wings is exceptionally helpful, and the fact that there is so much movement in the legs and tails is equally as great. It's just when it comes to King Ghidorah's rigatoni noodle butt, I wish we could get a bit more up and down, side to side movement out of that to really add to the curvatures of those tails and allow them to stand upwards a bit better. And I do wish the tails could actually hold the pose that I want to get them in without having to do the pose and twist. And as much as I really wish they could do something wild with that torso, I have a feeling it's as limited as it is, so it keeps the figure from falling over and losing balance, all of that. And I think it's also a bit of a precaution so the figure doesn't sag over time like we've seen with some of the KOTM King Ghidorahs over time. Ultimately, though, I think Hiya made a very beautiful figure, and for it to be this good the first time out is nothing but praiseworthy. And this figure existence kind of makes my need for another highly articulated 91 King Ghidorah figure a bit moot. Unless Hiya does all those fixes, includes gravity beams and those awful Furby reject toys as bonuses, then I guess I'm back in the market. And I will stand by what I just said right there. This is a big figure. It's bigger than my head. There is a lot that could have gone wrong with this release, and surprisingly, I haven't really seen or heard anything too bad about these, and I'm happy that my copy turned out as good as it did. But anyway, that's enough out of me. I will see you all on Saturday night, where I will be taking a look at the Bandai Limited Movie Monster Series Godzilla Store exclusive Godzilla vs. Destroya 30th Anniversary Destroya Aggregate Form version figure. It's one of the best Movie Monster Series figures, like, out of the 2014 to now 2025 run. Factual. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you all. See you next time. Peace.